The thing about catching your wife making out with her ex-boyfriend is that it never happens at a convenient time. Like when you're alone, or when you haven't just spent 3 hours setting up smart home displays for her precious fundraiser party. No, it happens when you're carrying a tray of champagne glasses and wearing your best fake smile for her Instagram-obsessed friends. I'm Russell Harlan, and I run a home automation business in suburban Denver. Not glamorous, but it pays for my wife Celine's lifestyle. She's a marketing executive who throws parties like other people change socks, frequently and with great drama. "Russ, honey, make sure the lighting system is perfect for photos," Celine had chirped earlier, adjusting her designer dress. At 36, she still looked stunning, which made what I was about to witness even more of a gut punch. The party was in full swing. Our backyard looked like something from a magazine. String lights, catered food, and about 40 of Denver's most self-important socialites. Celine's friends clustered around the pool, their voices carrying that particular pitch that meant serious gossip was brewing. "Did you see Ethan's new car?" Tara Morrison squealed, her phone already out for selfies. Tara was Celine's best friend, a 34-year-old Instagram influencer who documented every breath she took. "It's a Tesla Model S, so environmental." Ethan Drake, my wife's ex-boyfriend who somehow became her closest friend after we got married 5 years ago. He was everything I wasn't, tall, gym-sculpted, with that slicked-back hair and $1,000 smile that screamed trust fund baby. He sold luxury real estate and drove cars that cost more than most people's houses. "Where is our host?" Morgan Castell asked, scanning the crowd. Morgan was another member of Celine's inner circle, a yoga instructor married to a tech millionaire. She had this way of asking innocent questions that felt like accusations. I was wondering the same thing. Celine had disappeared 20 minutes ago, claiming she needed to check on something. In our 5 years of marriage, I'd learned that checking on something usually meant drama was brewing. I decided to look for her, carrying the champagne tray toward the pool house where we kept extra supplies. The building was dark, but I could hear voices inside. Low, intimate voices. Through the window, I saw them. Celine was pressed against the wall, her arms wrapped around Ethan's neck. His hands were on her waist and they were kissing like teenagers at prom, not a friendly peck. This was full contact, tongues involved. I've been wanting to do this all night. Kissing. The champagne glasses crashed to the ground. They broke apart, spinning toward the sound. Celine's lipstick was smeared, her hair mussed. Ethan had the decency to look embarrassed for about 2 seconds before his expression shifted to that smug smile I'd grown to hate. "Russ," Celine stammered, smoothing her dress. "It's not what it looks like." "Really?" I kept my voice level, though my hands were shaking. "Because it looks like my wife is making out with her ex-boyfriend at our party while I'm serving drinks to your friends." Ethan stepped forward, straightening his tie. "Look, man, things happen. Maybe if you paid more attention to your wife, maybe if you stayed away from other men's wives, we wouldn't have this problem." Celine's face flushed red. Whether from embarrassment or anger, I couldn't tell. "Don't you dare blame Ethan for this. He's been more supportive of my career than you've ever been." "Supportive?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Is that what we're calling it now?" The party continued outside, oblivious to the drama unfolding in the pool house. I could hear Tara's laugh, sharp and artificial, probably posting another story to her thousands of followers. "You know what, Russell?" Celine's voice took on that cold tone I'd been hearing more often lately. "I'm tired of this. Tired of your jealousy, your accusations, your complete inability to trust me." "My inability to trust you?" "I just caught you. You caught me having a moment with someone who actually understands me." She stepped closer, her eyes blazing. "Ethan gets my ambitions. He supports my dreams. When's the last time you did that?" Ethan nodded like a bobblehead. "She deserves better, Harlan." I stared at them both, these two people who thought they were so much better than me. Celine, with her designer everything and social media presence. Ethan, with his trust fund arrogance and complete lack of boundaries. "You want to know what I think?" I said quietly. "I think you've been planning this for months. All those late nights working on campaigns, all those weekend business meetings with Ethan, all those charges on our credit card for hotels I've never seen." Celine's face went pale. "You've been checking our credit cards?" "It's my money paying for them." "Yeah, I check them." The silence stretched between us like a loaded gun. Outside, someone had turned up the music, and the party was getting louder. Soon, people would start looking for us. Then Celine said the words that changed everything. "You know what, Russell? I'm done with this marriage. I'm done with your paranoia and your small-minded thinking. So here's what's going to happen." She crossed her arms, looking every inch the marketing executive who was used to getting her way. "You're going to go out there, and you're going to apologize to Ethan for insulting him. You're going to tell our friends that you were wrong to accuse us of anything inappropriate. And then you're going to spend the rest of this party being the supportive husband I deserve." I blinked. "You want me to apologize? To him?" "That's right. And if you don't, I'm leaving you. Tonight. I'll pack my bags and move in with Tara, and you can explain to everyone why your wife walked out on you." Ethan smirked. "Sounds fair to me." I looked at my wife, really looked at her. The woman I'd married 5 years ago, who'd promised to love and honor me. The woman who was now demanding I humiliate myself to protect her affair. And I smiled. "You know what, Celine? You're absolutely right." Both of them looked surprised. They'd expected more fight, more begging, more of the doormat behavior I'd apparently been displaying for months. "I am?" Celine asked cautiously. "Absolutely. I should apologize." I pulled out my phone and started typing. "In fact, I'm going to do more than apologize. I'm going to make this whole situation crystal clear for everyone." "What are you doing?" Ethan stepped forward, trying to see my phone screen. "Just sending a quick message to my lawyer. You know, David Peterson. He handled our prenup." I looked up at Celine, still smiling. "Remember that prenup, honey? The one you insisted on because you were making more money than me at the time?" Her face went white. "Russell, what are you—" "The prenup that protects both our individual assets and businesses. The one that means if either of us commits adultery, we forfeit any claim to the other person's property." The pool house went dead silent, except for the distant party noise. "You're bluffing," Ethan said, but his voice had lost its confidence. "Am I?" I pocketed my phone. "Tell you what. Let's go back to the party. I'll make that apology you wanted, Celine. I'll tell everyone exactly what kind of man Ethan is and exactly what kind of wife I married. Then you can pack your bags and move in with Tara. Just don't forget to sign the divorce papers David's preparing." I turned to leave, then paused at the door. "Oh, and Celine? Next time you want to have an affair, maybe don't use the credit card that sends me automatic notifications for every purchase over $50. The Marriott downtown? Really classy." I walked out, leaving them standing there in the dark pool house, and headed back to rejoin my wife's party. After all, I had some apologizing to do. I woke up alone, which wasn't unusual anymore. What was unusual was the silence. No coffee brewing, no shower running, no sound of Celine getting ready for another day of building her brand. Just the kind of heavy quiet that settles over a house when everything's about to change. The guest bedroom where I'd been sleeping for the past 3 months wasn't much, but it had become my sanctuary. Celine had claimed she needed space to focus on her career goals. I'd been stupid enough to believe her. My phone buzzed with a text from my sister Maya. How did the party go? Did Celine's Instagram friends behave themselves? Maya was 2 years younger than me and had never liked Celine. She'd called her a social climber with a designer handbag where her heart should be within 10 minutes of meeting her. I'd thought she was being harsh. Turns out Maya was just being accurate. I texted back, "Let's just say it was memorable." Before I could put the phone down, it buzzed again. This time it was David Peterson, my lawyer and old college roommate. "Got your message. Can you come in this morning? We need to talk." David's office was downtown in one of those glass towers that made Denver look like it was trying to be a real city. He'd done well for himself. Corporate law paid better than home automation, that was for sure. "You look like hell," he said when I walked in. "Feel worse." I dropped into the chair across from his desk. "Please tell me you have good news about that prenup." David pulled out a thick folder. "Depends on what you consider good news. The prenup is ironclad. If Celine committed adultery, she gets nothing from your business, your savings, or any assets acquired during the marriage. And the bad news? You need proof, real proof, not just catching them kissing at a party." I leaned back in my chair. "What kind of proof? Hotel records, phone records, credit card statements showing a pattern of deception, witness testimony, photos, the kind of evidence that would hold up in court. I've got credit card statements, charges for hotels, restaurants, gifts I never received, all on days when she claimed to be working late or having girls' nights." David nodded. "That's a start. What about witnesses?" "Half the party saw them together last night. Tara Morrison has probably posted it on Instagram by now." I paused. "Actually, that's not a bad idea. Tara documents everything. Social media can be useful, but it's not always admissible. We need people willing to testify." My phone rang. Celine's name flashed on the screen. "Answer it," David said. "Put it on speaker." "Russell?" Celine's voice was shaky, uncertain, nothing like the confident woman who demanded I apologize to her lover 12 hours ago. "What do you want, Celine?" "We need to talk about last night. I think there's been a misunderstanding." David raised an eyebrow and motioned for me to keep her talking. "A misunderstanding?" I kept my voice neutral. "You mean when I caught you making out with Ethan? Or when you demanded I apologize to him for interrupting your affair?" Silence on the other end. Then, "It wasn't an affair, Russell. It was just, we've been talking. He's been helping me with some career decisions." "Is that what you call it when someone's tongue is in your mouth?" "Don't be crude." Her voice was getting stronger, more like the Celine I knew. "Look, maybe we both made mistakes last night. Maybe we can work this out." David was scribbling notes, underlining something repeatedly. "Work it out how?" I asked. "Counseling, a trial separation. Something that doesn't involve lawyers and divorce papers." "Interesting timing for this change of heart. Last night you were ready to move in with Tara." Another pause. "I talked to Tara this morning. She thinks I might have been too hasty." I bet she did. Tara was many things, but stupid wasn't one of them. She'd probably looked up Colorado divorce law the minute she got home from the party. "Here's the thing, Celine. I've been thinking about what you said, about how Ethan understands you better than I do, about how I don't support your dreams. And you know what? You're right." I am? "Absolutely. You deserve to be with someone who really gets you, someone who shares your values and your lifestyle, someone who thinks it's perfectly normal to make out with other people at parties." David was grinning now, still taking notes. "Russell, that's not fair. It was one kiss, one moment of weakness." "One moment? Celine, I've got credit card statements going back 6 months. Hotel charges, restaurant bills, gifts from jewelry stores. Either you've been having an affair, or you've developed some very expensive hobbies I don't know about." The silence stretched so long I thought she'd hung up. "Those charges, I can explain those." "I'm sure you can. Save it for your lawyer." "My lawyer? Russell, you can't be serious about this divorce thing. We can work through this. Marriage is about forgiveness." I looked at David, who was nodding encouragingly. "You're right again, Celine. Marriage is about forgiveness. It's also about trust, honesty, and not screwing around with your ex-boyfriend. But hey, what do I know? I'm just the guy who pays for your lifestyle. That's not fair. I contribute to this household. You're right. You contribute drama, debt, and apparently a very active social calendar with Ethan Drake. David held up a note. Keep her talking about the relationship with Ethan. Speaking of Ethan, I continued, how long has this been going on? And don't say it was just one kiss. I'm not stupid, Celine. It's not what you think. We're just friends. We have history, yes, but history that includes hotel rooms and expensive dinners? Those were business meetings. Ethan's been helping me explore some opportunities. What kind of opportunities? Another pause. Real estate investments. He thinks I'd be good at luxury property sales. David was writing furiously now. This was getting better by the minute. So you've been having secret business meetings with your ex-boyfriend for 6 months, and you never thought to mention it to your husband? I knew you'd react like this. You've never supported my career ambitions. I've supported every career move you've ever made. I paid for your marketing certification. I've attended every company party, every networking event, every boring dinner with your colleagues. What I haven't done is funded your affair. It's not an affair. Then what is it, Celine? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've been using our money to wine and dine another man while lying to me about where you were. The line went quiet again. When she spoke, her voice was different, colder. Fine, you want to know the truth? Yes, Ethan and I have been spending time together. Yes, we've been exploring possibilities. And yes, maybe we've gotten closer than we should have. But that's because he treats me like an equal partner, not like some trophy wife whose only job is to smile and look pretty at parties. David was practically bouncing in his chair. So you admit you've been having an affair? I admit that I've been talking to someone who actually listens to me, someone who sees my potential and wants to help me achieve it. By making out with you in our pool house? That was a moment of gratitude. He'd just offered me a partnership in his real estate firm. A partnership that requires kissing? Don't twist this around, Russell. You know what your problem is? You're threatened by successful people. You can't stand that Ethan makes more money than you, drives a better car, lives in a nicer house. Now I was getting angry. You know what my problem is, Celine? My problem is that my wife has been lying to me for months while spending my money on another man. Your money. I make good money too, Russell. Not good enough to pay for 5-star hotels and $1,000 dinners, apparently. David held up another note. Get her to confirm the timeline. How long, Celine? How long has this been going on? Since January. But it's not what you think. January? We're in September. You've been having an affair for 8 months? It's not an affair. We're exploring business opportunities, and yes, we've gotten close, but close enough to kiss. Close enough for secret hotel meetings. Close enough for you to choose him over your husband. I never chose him over you. Really? Because last night you told me to apologize to him, or you'd leave me. I was angry. I said things I didn't mean. Which part didn't you mean? The part where you called me small-minded, or the part where you threatened to leave me? No answer. Here's what's going to happen, Celine. You're going to move out. Today. You can stay with Tara or Ethan or whoever else wants to support your career ambitions, but you're not staying in my house. Our house, and you can't just throw me out. I looked at David, who nodded. Actually, I can. The house is in my name. I bought it before we got married, and the prenup clearly states that individual assets remain individual property. You bastard? Maybe, but I'm a bastard who's tired of being lied to. I hung up and looked at David. How'd I do? Better than I expected. She just confessed to an 8-month affair on a recorded call. Recorded? David held up his phone. Always record important conversations with soon-to-be ex-spouses. Colorado is a one-party consent state. For the first time in months, I felt like smiling. So what happens now? Now we file for divorce based on adultery. With the prenup and this confession, she gets nothing except whatever she brought into the marriage. And my business? Completely protected. She has no claim to it. I stood up and shook David's hand. Send her the papers today. Already drafting them. As I left David's office, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This isn't over. You'll regret this. Ethan Drake. The man who thought he could steal another man's wife without consequences. I texted back, looking forward to it. Because if Ethan wanted to make this personal, I was more than ready to oblige. After all, I had 8 months of humiliation to repay, and I was just getting started. The thing about small social circles is that news travels fast. By Tuesday morning, everyone in Celine's crowd knew about our separation. By Tuesday afternoon, I learned exactly who my real friends were. The answer was, not many. Paul Hendricks was the exception. My old college buddy had become a security consultant after leaving the police force, and he was the kind of guy who'd help you bury a body without asking questions. Not that I needed any bodies buried, but it was nice to know the option was there. So she's really trying to play the victim? Paul asked over coffee at our usual diner. According to Tara's Instagram, I'm a controlling husband who couldn't handle Celine's success. I showed him my phone. Look at this post. Supporting my girl through her difficult time. Some men just can't handle a strong woman. Girl power, toxic masculinity, supporting survivors. Paul snorted. Survivors? She cheated on you, not escaped from a war zone. Tell that to her followers. She's got 300 comments calling me everything from an abuser to a narcissist. What about your other friends? The couples you used to hang out with? That was the painful part. Gone. Every single one. It had started Monday evening. First, it was Tom and Jennifer Walsh. We'd been friends for 3 years, ever since I'd installed their home security system. Tom called to check on me, but really to deliver a message. Look, Russ, Jennifer and I care about you both, but we think it's best if we step back from the situation until things settle down. Translation. Celine's version of events was more interesting than mine, and they didn't want to pick sides. Except not picking sides was picking a side. Then it was Marcus and Lisa Chen. I'd done their whole smart home setup, spent weekends helping Marcus with his deck, had them over for barbecues. Lisa sent a text. We think you both need space to work things out. We're staying neutral. Neutral. Like this was a political disagreement instead of my wife cheating on me. The worst was Brad and Sarah Coleman. Sarah had been Celine's college roommate, and I'd thought Brad and I were genuinely friends. We'd watched football together, gone fishing, complained about our wives' shopping habits. But when I called him Monday night, he was ice cold. I've heard Celine's side of the story, Russ. I think you need to take a long look in the mirror. What's that supposed to mean? It means maybe if you'd paid more attention to your wife instead of your business, she wouldn't have needed to find support elsewhere. Support? Brad, she was having an affair. That's not how she tells it. How does she tell it? Like a woman who was lonely and found a friend who actually listened to her. Like a woman whose husband became so obsessed with work that he forgot he was married. I'd hung up on him. But his words stung because there was a grain of truth in them. I had been working more hours lately. My business was growing, and I'd been focused on expanding into commercial properties, but that didn't justify what Celine had done. They're all idiots, Paul said, bringing me back to the present. Fair-weather friends who'd rather believe a dramatic story than face an uncomfortable truth. Maybe, but it still hurts. Of course it does, but you know what hurts more? Staying married to a cheater and pretending everything's fine? My phone buzzed. Another unknown number. You destroyed a good woman's reputation. Hope you're proud of yourself. I showed Paul the text. Third one today. Different numbers each time. Celine's flying monkeys. She's got her whole social media army worked up. Paul studied the message. Want me to trace these numbers? Can you do that? I still have contacts in the department. Might take a day or two. Before I could answer, the diner door opened and Tom Walsh walked in. He saw us immediately, it wasn't a big place, and hesitated like he might leave. Then he squared his shoulders and walked over. Russ, Paul, Tom. I kept my voice neutral. Mind if I sit? We should talk. Paul started to object, but I motioned for Tom to take the empty chair. Jennifer sent me, Tom said without preamble. She feels bad about how we handled things yesterday. How you handled things? You mean when you decided to stay neutral about my wife's affair? Tom winced. Look, we didn't know what to believe. Celine's telling everyone you were emotionally abusive, that you controlled her finances, isolated her from friends, made her feel worthless. And you believed that? I didn't know what to believe, but Jennifer pointed out that in 3 years of friendship, we've never seen you be anything but supportive of Celine. Paul leaned forward. What changed your mind? Tom looked uncomfortable. Tara Morrison posted something this morning that didn't sit right. She was bragging about some expensive purse Celine bought her as a thank you for being such a good friend. But Jennifer remembered that you mentioned money being tight because of Celine's spending. So if money was tight, how was Celine buying $1,000 purses for her friends? I pulled out my phone and showed him a screenshot of our credit card statement. She bought that purse the same day she had a business lunch with Ethan, charged to our joint account. Tom's face fell. Jesus, Russ. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix anything, Tom. I know, but Jennifer and I want to make it right. We want to help. Paul was skeptical. Help how? We were at that party Friday night. We saw how Celine and Ethan were acting. Jennifer even commented on it at the time. What did she say? That they seemed awfully cozy for just friends. That Celine was being disrespectful to you. This was new information. Jennifer said that? She wanted to say something to you, but I told her it wasn't our business. Tom looked ashamed. I should have listened to her. My phone rang. David Peterson. Excuse me? I told Tom and answered the call. Russ, we have a problem. Celine's hired Amanda Foster. Amanda Foster was Denver's most aggressive divorce attorney. She specialized in high-conflict cases and had a reputation for destroying her opponents. How big a problem? She's filed a counter-petition claiming emotional abuse and asking for spousal support. She's also requesting half your business assets. But the prenup? She's claiming the prenup is invalid because you coerced her into signing it. I felt the blood drain from my face. Can she do that? She can try. We need to meet this afternoon. And Russ, start documenting everything, every interaction, every text, every phone call. This is going to get ugly. I hung up and looked at Tom and Paul. Celine just hired Amanda Foster. Paul whistled low. The Barracuda? She's not messing around. Who's Amanda Foster? Tom asked. A lawyer who eats husbands for breakfast, Paul explained. She's the one who took that tech CEO for half his company last year. My phone buzzed with another text from an unknown number. Amanda Foster is going to destroy you. Should have treated your wife better. Then another. Hope you saved money for lawyers. You're going to need it. And another. Celine deserves everything you have. Abusers like you make me sick. They're coordinating this, Paul said, reading over my shoulder. This isn't random harassment. Someone's organizing Celine's supporters. Tom looked genuinely disturbed. This is crazy. Russ, you're not an abuser. Anyone who knows you would say that. Apparently not many people know me as well as I thought. My phone rang again. This time it was my sister Maya. Russ, what the hell is going on? Mom just called me crying because some woman posted on Facebook that you're an abusive husband. It's complicated, Maya. Uncomplicate it. Now. I gave her the short version, the affair, the confrontation, the divorce filing, and now Celine's counterattack. That manipulative bitch, Maya said when I finished. Mom's worried sick. She thinks she failed as a parent because she raised an abuser. Tell Mom I'm fine. This is just Celine trying to control the narrative. I'll handle Mom, but Russ, you need to fight back. You can't let her destroy your reputation. I'm trying. I hired David Peterson. Not just legally, socially. These people are spreading lies about you, and you're just taking it. After Maya hung up, I looked at Tom and Paul. She's right. I can't just play defense. What are you thinking? Paul asked. I'm thinking it's time to tell my side of the story. Tom nodded. Jennifer and I will back you up. We'll tell people what we saw at the party. Thanks, but I need more than that. I need proof that Celine's been lying about everything. Paul grinned. Now you're talking my language. What do you need? Everything. Phone records, hotel security footage, witness statements. If she wants to play dirty, I'll show her what dirty really looks like. My phone buzzed one more time. Another unknown number. This is just the beginning. We're going to ruin you. I showed it to Paul and Tom. Bring it on, I said out loud, hoping whoever was behind this could somehow hear me. I've got nothing left to lose. But that wasn't quite true. I still had my business, my house, and my reputation. And if Celine thought she could take those away with lies and social media campaigns, she was about to learn just how wrong she was. The real fight was just beginning. Amanda Foster's office looked like a museum dedicated to destroying men's lives. Awards covered the walls, each one representing some poor bastard who'd underestimated her. The woman herself was smaller than I'd expected, maybe 5'4" in heels, but she radiated the kind of cold confidence that made smart people nervous. Mr. Harlan, she said, without getting up from her desk, I understand you're refusing to negotiate. David and I sat across from her in chairs that seemed designed to make visitors feel small. Celine sat beside Amanda, looking nothing like the woman I'd married. Gone was the warm smile, the laugh that used to make me forget bad days. This version of my wife was all sharp angles and calculated expressions. There's nothing to negotiate, David replied. Your client committed adultery. The prenup is clear about the consequences. Amanda smiled like a shark scenting blood. The prenup your client coerced my client into signing while she was emotionally vulnerable? The prenup that was negotiated without proper legal representation? Celine had her own lawyer review it, I said. A lawyer you recommended. Celine spoke for the first time. A lawyer who was more interested in getting the deal done than protecting my interests. This was news to me. You said you were happy with the prenup. You said it protected both of us. I said what you wanted to hear because I was afraid of losing you. Amanda nodded approvingly. My client was young, in love, and financially dependent on you. The power dynamic made true consent impossible. She made more money than I did when we signed it, I pointed out, temporarily, and you made it clear that your support for her career was conditional on her signing your agreement. David leaned forward. Do you have any evidence of coercion? We have my client's testimony about the emotional manipulation she endured. We also have evidence of your client's controlling behavior throughout the marriage. Amanda slid a thick folder across the table. David opened it and his face went pale. What is it? I asked. Bank statements, credit card records, emails. David flipped through pages. How did you get these? My client provided them. They show a pattern of financial control and emotional abuse. I grabbed the folder. The bank statements were real. I recognized our account numbers. But the highlighted sections painted a picture I didn't recognize. Every time I'd questioned a large purchase was marked as financial control. Every time I'd asked about Celine's spending was labeled economic abuse. This is bullshit, I said. These are normal conversations between married couples about money. Normal? Amanda raised an eyebrow. You required your wife to get permission for purchases over $200. I asked her to discuss large purchases with me, like she asked me to do. You monitored her spending through automatic notifications. On our joint account, That I paid for. You used financial leverage to control her behavior. Celine was nodding along, playing the perfect victim. He made me feel like I had to justify every dollar I spent while he bought whatever he wanted for his business. That's not true. You have your own credit card, your own checking account. That you monitored? Amanda interrupted. My client has documentation of your surveillance. She pulled out printed emails between Celine and her bank, requesting statements because my husband tracks everything I buy. There were text messages to friends about having to hide purchases from Russell and feeling like a prisoner in my own marriage. The worst part was that some of it was technically true. I did get notifications for large purchases. I did ask questions when our joint account was overdrawn, but seeing it presented this way, stripped of context and arranged for maximum impact, made me look like a controlling monster. These messages, David said carefully, when were they sent? Amanda consulted her notes. Various dates over the past year. Interesting, because according to the metadata, several of these were sent in the past week. Celine's face flushed slightly, but Amanda didn't miss a beat. My client has been documenting the abuse for months. Some communications were delayed due to her fear of discovery. Or created after the fact to support a false narrative, David countered. Are you accusing my client of fabricating evidence? I'm suggesting that someone who's been planning an affair for 8 months might also plan a defense strategy. Amanda's smile turned predatory. 8 months? Is that what your client told you? She pulled out another folder. Hotel receipts, restaurant bills, jewelry purchases. The pattern goes back 18 months, not 8. My stomach dropped. 18 months meant the affair had started almost from the beginning of Celine's career development phase. My client was driven into the arms of another man by years of emotional neglect and financial control, Amanda continued. Mr. Drake provided the emotional support your client failed to give. Mr. Drake provided more than emotional support, David said dryly. Their relationship remained platonic until very recently. My client was seeking mentorship and friendship, not romance. Platonic relationships don't usually involve hotel rooms. Business meetings often do. Mr. Drake was helping my client explore career opportunities. I couldn't stay quiet anymore. What career opportunities require overnight stays in luxury hotels? Celine finally looked at me directly. Real estate development, Russell? Ethan was teaching me about property investment, showing me potential projects around the state. Something you never would have supported because it might have taken attention away from your business. You never mentioned any of this. Because I knew you'd react exactly like this. Jealous, possessive, controlling. Amanda nodded. My client was forced to hide legitimate business activities because of your client's inability to support her professional growth. Professional growth that involved kissing her mentor? David asked. One moment of gratitude that your client witnessed and twisted into something sordid. I stared at Celine. This woman I'd thought I knew. Do you actually believe what you're saying? I believe that I spent 5 years trying to make you happy, while my own dreams died a little more each day. What dreams? You never told me about any dreams involving real estate. Because you never asked. You assumed I was content being the wife of a small-time contractor who installs smart doorbells for rich people. That stung because it was partially true. My business had grown from home automation into commercial security systems, but I wasn't exactly Bill Gates. Amanda sensed weakness. My client is seeking 50% of all marital assets, including your business, plus spousal support of $5,000 per month for 3 years. Absolutely not, David said immediately. Then we'll see you in court. And Mr. Harlan? Amanda looked directly at me. You might want to consider how this will look to your customers when the local news picks up the story of the abusive husband who drove his wife into another man's arms. After we left Amanda's office, David and I sat in his car in the parking garage. How bad is this? I asked. Bad. She's good at what she does, and she's built a compelling narrative. But it's all lies. Doesn't matter. Truth and legal truth aren't always the same thing. My phone buzzed with a text from Paul. Emergency. Meet me at your house, now. 20 minutes later, Paul was standing in my driveway holding a tablet and wearing the kind of expression that meant very bad news. The words hung in the air like smoke after a gunshot. Paul nodded once, sharp and decisive, the way he always did when the plan shifted from defense to offense. He was my oldest friend, divorce attorney by trade, pit bull by temperament, and right now he looked like a man who'd just been handed the keys to a demolition derby. We moved to my home office, the one room in the house that still felt like mine. No photos of Celine on the walls anymore. I'd taken them down the week she left, not out of anger, but because looking at her smile hurt more than the silence. Paul plugged his tablet into my monitor and pulled up a spreadsheet he'd already started compiling. First, he said, tapping the screen, we mapped the battlefield. This Justice for Celine page was created 6 days ago. Admin is anonymous, burner account, VPN routed through Sweden. But the posts started after Celine filed the emergency protective order. Timing isn't coincidence. He scrolled. The photos of my house had been taken from the sidewalk across the street, zoom lens catching the brass numbers on the mailbox, 1427. My work truck sat in the driveway of the shop 3 miles away, logo gleaming under sodium lights. One image showed me loading tools into the bed last Tuesday, face half-turned, unaware. Stalker-level surveillance, posted with captions like, "Here's where the abuser hides," and "Call him out. Let him feel what isolation is like." I felt the heat rise in my chest. Not rage exactly, something colder, more focused. They think this scares me into settling. They think you'll fold, Paul corrected. Most men do when the mob shows up at the door, but you're not most men. He opened another tab, public records searches he'd already run. Celine's new address, a 1-bedroom rental 15 miles away, lease in her maiden name. Her attorney's website, glowing testimonials from other empowered women. A GoFundMe linked in the Facebook comments. Help Celine rebuild after abuse. It had raised $8,400 in 4 days, mostly small donations with messages like, "You got this, queen," and "Stay strong, sister." Paul leaned back. She's monetizing the narrative, smart, also actionable. How? Defamation suit if the allegations cross into provable falsehoods. We start with cease and desist letters to the page admin and the loudest posters. Most will scatter when they realize there's real legal heat. The rest? We subpoena Facebook for IP logs, trace the burner. In the meantime, we flip the script. He pulled up a blank document and started typing. Step 1. Professional statement. I would issue a calm, factual public response through my business socials and a dedicated website Paul was already having built. No name-calling, no counter-accusations. Just, I respect the legal process. I have never engaged in abuse of any kind. I look forward to resolving this matter fairly in court. Step 2. Evidence preservation. Every text, email, bank statement, calendar entry from the last 3 years. Celine had claimed financial control. The records would show joint accounts, equal access, me paying her credit cards without question. Emotional isolation. Photos of us at friends' barbecues, her family holidays, girls' weekends she planned and I encouraged. Step 3. Counter-narrative, subtle. I would reach out, quietly, to the handful of mutual friends who had gone silent. Coffee, not confrontation, just to listen. Most had already heard only her side. A few would remember the truth when prompted gently. Step 4. Security upgrade. New cameras at the house and shop, motion lights, signage warning of recording. If they wanted to film me, they'd star in my footage too. My phone buzzed again. Another unknown. Your wife deserves better than a controlling prick like you. I silenced it, then blocked the number. Paul watched me. They're trying to provoke a reaction. Yell, threaten, show up angry. That's gold for their story. Stay ice cold. I nodded. What's the timeline? Media will run with it tomorrow or the next day. Human interest, local angle, successful contractor accused of abuse. We get ahead. Tonight, you draft the statement. Tomorrow morning, we file for a temporary restraining order against the page if they keep posting your address. Harassment by proxy is still harassment. He paused, studying me. You sure you want war? Walking away quiet is still an option. Pay what she wants. Move on. I looked at the monitor, at the frozen image of my truck, my life reduced to pixels for strangers to judge. Then I thought of the nights Celine and I used to sit on the porch, planning the future. Kids, maybe, a bigger shop, vacations we never took because work always came first. Somewhere that future had cracked. She blamed me. I blamed us both. But I wasn't going to let her rewrite the story with lies while I stood mute. I'm sure, I said. Paul grinned, the first real smile since he walked in. Good. Then let's make them regret ever hitting post. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at the desk until dawn, writing and rewriting the statement. No venom, just facts, delivered like a blueprint, precise, unemotional, impossible to twist without looking dishonest. When the first light crept through the blinds, I hit send to Paul. His reply came fast. Solid, posting at 8 a.m. sharp. Brace yourself. I stood, stretched, walked to the kitchen and brewed coffee the way I always had. Black, strong, no sugar. Outside, the neighborhood was still quiet. No news vans yet, but they were coming. I sipped, watching the steam rise. For the first time since Celine walked out, I didn't feel like the villain in someone else's script. I felt like the man who was finally ready to write his own ending. The news van parked outside my house was from Channel 7, just like the reporter who'd called. Through my security cameras, I could see a blonde woman in a power suit practicing her concerned about domestic violence face while a cameraman set up equipment. Don't go outside, Paul warned. Anything you say will be edited to make you look guilty. So I just hide in my own house? For now, but I've got better ideas. Paul had spent the morning working his contacts in law enforcement and private security. The results were spread across my dining room table like battle plans. First, the good news, he said, pointing to a stack of papers. Those text messages harassing you, I traced them. They're all coming from phones registered to members of Celine's social circle. Tara Morrison, Morgan Castell, even that yoga instructor, Sarah Coleman. Can we do anything about that? Harassment charges if they keep it up, but more importantly, it proves this is an organized campaign, not organic support for a victim. He pulled out another folder. Better news, hotel security footage. You got footage of Celine and Ethan? Better. I got footage of them checking in together multiple times over the past 18 months. And not just checking in, they're clearly comfortable with each other. This isn't a business relationship. Paul opened his laptop and showed me a video clip. The timestamp showed a date from 6 months ago. Celine and Ethan walked into the Marriott downtown, his hand on the small of her back, her leaning into him like they'd done this 100 times before. This is from February, Paul said. According to your credit card records, Celine told you she was at a marketing conference in Colorado Springs that night. Can we use this in court? Absolutely, but I think we can do better than court. Paul's plan was elegant in its simplicity. Instead of playing defense against Celine's media campaign, we'd go on offense with facts. She's controlling the narrative because she got there first, he explained. But narratives can change if you have better evidence. What kind of evidence? The kind that shows 18 months of systematic lying and financial fraud. Paul had been busy. Using my credit card statements and bank records, he'd created a timeline of Celine's affair that was damning in its detail. Hotel stays that coincided with supposed work trips, expensive dinners charged to our account while she claimed to be having girls' nights. Jewelry purchases that never made it home. Look at this pattern, Paul said, pointing to a spreadsheet. Every time you questioned a charge, she had an explanation. But when you map out all the explanations, they contradict each other. He was right. The marketing conference in Colorado Springs happened the same night she'd supposedly been helping Tara with a social media crisis. The girls' night out at an expensive restaurant occurred while she was allegedly working late on a campaign pitch. She's been living a double life for over a year, Paul continued, and documenting it all on your credit cards. My phone rang. This time it was my business partner, Jake Morrison. Russ, we've got a problem. 3 clients called this morning to cancel their contracts. Jake and I had started the security business together 5 years ago. He handled the technical side while I managed client relationships. We'd built a solid reputation in Denver's commercial market. What reason did they give? Same story from all 3. They don't want to be associated with someone who abuses his wife. Jesus, Jake, you know that's not true. I know that, but they don't. Russ, there's a Facebook page with 5,000 members calling for boycotts of your business. They're posting 1-star reviews on Google, Yelp, everywhere. Paul was already pulling up the reviews on his laptop. Page after page of identical 1-star ratings with comments like, abusive husband doesn't deserve your business, and support survivors, not their abusers. This is coordinated, Paul said. Same language, same timing. This isn't organic customer feedback. Can we prove that? I'm working on it, but in the meantime, your business is getting destroyed. Jake was still on the phone. There's more, Russ. Channel 7 called our office. They want to interview me about what kind of person you are. What did you tell them? Nothing yet, but they're persistent. After Jake hung up, I looked at Paul. They're not just going after me. They're going after my livelihood. Then it's time to stop playing nice. Paul's counterattack plan was comprehensive. First, we'd file harassment charges against the people sending threatening texts. Second, we'd document the coordinated review bombing and report it to the platforms. Third, we'd release our own evidence to the media. The key is timing, Paul explained. We need to control the story, not react to it. He'd already contacted a friend at Channel 9, a competing news station that would love to embarrass Channel 7 with a better story. What's our angle? Wrongfully accused husband fights back against social media mob with evidence of wife's systematic deception. That works? It works if we can prove the mob is being manipulated by false information. Paul pulled out his phone and showed me a series of screenshots. Look at this. The Justice for Celine Facebook page was created 3 days ago, but it already has detailed posts going back weeks. Someone backdated content to make it look like there was organic support building over time. Who created the page? That's the interesting part. The admin is listed as Concerned Citizens for Justice, but the IP address traces back to Amanda Foster's law firm. Her lawyer is running a social media campaign against me? Looks like it, which is probably an ethics violation. My doorbell rang. Through the security camera, I could see the Channel 7 reporter standing on my porch. Mr. Harlan, I'm Rebecca Martinez from Channel 7 News. I'd like to give you an opportunity to respond to the allegations against you. Paul shook his head, but I was tired of hiding. What allegations specifically? I called through the door. That you emotionally and financially abused your wife, driving her to seek comfort elsewhere. And you're basing this on what evidence? Your wife's testimony and supporting documentation. Have you seen any evidence that contradicts her testimony? A pause. What kind of evidence? Paul was frantically shaking his head, but I kept going. Hotel security footage showing an 18-month affair. Credit card records showing systematic deception. Text messages proving this harassment campaign is being coordinated by her lawyer. Another pause. Would you be willing to share that evidence? With a responsible journalist who's interested in the truth instead of ratings, yes. Can we set up an interview? Call my lawyer, David Peterson. If you're genuinely interested in investigating this story instead of just repeating accusations, he'll arrange something." After she left, Paul looked at me like I'd lost my mind. "Please tell me you have a plan." "I do. We're going to give them so much evidence that they can't ignore it. And when Channel 7 realizes they've been played by Amanda Foster, they're going to be very interested in a follow-up story. And if they just edit your interview to make you look worse? Then we release everything to Channel 9, the newspapers, and social media all at once. But I think Rebecca Martinez is smarter than that." My phone buzzed with a text from David Peterson. "Amanda Foster wants to meet tomorrow. Says she has new information that might change your mind about fighting this." I showed the text to Paul. "It's a trap," he said immediately. "Probably, but I'm curious what kind of new information she thinks she has." "Don't be curious. Be smart." But I was past being smart. Celine and her lawyer had declared war on my reputation, my business, and my life. If they wanted to escalate, I was ready to show them what escalation really looked like. "Set up the meeting with Amanda Foster," I told David, "and schedule that interview with Channel 7. It's time to stop playing defense." Paul sighed. "This is either going to be brilliant or catastrophic." "Probably both," I agreed. "But I'm tired of being the victim in someone else's story." My phone rang again. Unknown number, but this time I answered immediately. "Russell Harlan." "Mr. Harlan, this is Detective Sarah Chen with Denver PD. We need to talk." The war just got more interesting. Detective Sarah Chen was younger than I'd expected, maybe 35, with the kind of sharp eyes that missed nothing. She sat across from me in the police station interview room, a digital recorder between us and a thick file at her elbow. "Mr. Harlan, we've received several complaints about harassment and stalking. Your name has come up in connection with these incidents." "What kind of incidents?" "Threatening phone calls, unwanted surveillance, intimidation tactics." She opened the file. "Your wife has filed a restraining order request. She claims you've been following her, monitoring her communications, and making threats." I felt the bottom drop out of my stomach. "That's completely false." "Is it?" "Because we have phone records showing multiple calls from your number to hers, including several at late hours. We have witness statements that you've been seen near her workplace and her friends' homes." Paul, sitting beside me as my advisor, leaned forward. "Detective, my client has been gathering evidence for divorce proceedings. Any surveillance was conducted legally and professionally." "By whom?" "By me. I'm a licensed private investigator." Detective Chen consulted her notes. "Mr. Hendricks, yes, former police officer. Your license is current, but that doesn't give you carte blanche to harass people." "We haven't harassed anyone. We've documented public activities and gathered evidence of adultery." "Evidence that includes following Mrs. Harlan to private locations?" I realized we were walking into a trap. "Detective, I think I need my lawyer present." "That's your right. But Mr. Harlan, I should tell you that the district attorney is considering charges: stalking, harassment, possibly criminal mischief related to some online activities." "Online activities?" "The Facebook page targeting your wife, the coordinated harassment campaign, the fake reviews attacking her reputation." This was insane. "Detective, I'm not running any Facebook page. The harassment is going in the other direction." "Can you prove that?" Paul pulled out his tablet. "Actually, yes. We can prove that the harassment campaign against my client is being coordinated by his wife's divorce attorney." For the next hour, Paul walked Detective Chen through our evidence. The traced phone numbers, the backdated Facebook posts, the IP addresses linking back to Amanda Foster's law firm. By the end, Chen's expression had changed from suspicious to annoyed. "So you're telling me that a divorce attorney is running a social media smear campaign against her client's husband?" "That's exactly what we're telling you," Paul said, "and using it to support false police reports." Chen closed her file. "Mr. Harlan, don't leave town. We're going to need to verify this information." "What about the restraining order?" "I'll be having a conversation with Mrs. Harlan and her attorney about filing false reports." As we left the police station, Paul's phone rang. He answered, listened for a moment, then grinned. That was my contact at Channel 9. They want to interview you tonight. Apparently, Channel 7's story about the abusive husband got some interesting responses from people who know you. What kind of responses? Clients defending your character. Neighbors saying you've always been respectful. Your sister called them and offered to provide evidence of Celine's manipulation going back years. Maya called the news? Your sister doesn't mess around. She's got screenshots of social media posts where Celine bragged about manipulating you into paying for expensive purchases. Posts that contradict her claims about financial abuse. My phone buzzed with a text from David Peterson. Meeting with Amanda Foster moved to 4 p.m. She says it's urgent. They're panicking, Paul observed. When lawyers start calling urgent meetings, it means their strategy is falling apart. Amanda Foster's office felt different this time. The confident atmosphere was gone, replaced by something that felt like barely controlled chaos. Amanda herself looked tired, and Celine wasn't there. "Where's my wife?" I asked. "Mrs. Harlan is dealing with some personal matters," Amanda said carefully. "Mr. Harlan, we need to discuss a resolution to this situation. I thought we were past negotiations. Circumstances have changed. My client is prepared to accept the terms of the original prenup." David and I exchanged glances. What changed her mind? Amanda hesitated. "There have been some developments that make a prolonged court battle inadvisable for both parties." "What kind of developments?" "Media attention that neither of you wants. Police investigations that could become complicated. Professional consequences that might affect everyone involved." I leaned back in my chair. "You mean the police figured out that you've been running a harassment campaign against me?" Amanda's poker face slipped slightly. "I don't know what you're referring to." "Detective Chen was very interested in the IP addresses linking back to your firm. Something about ethics violations and potential criminal charges." "Mr. Harlan, I think you're misunderstanding." "I understand perfectly. You got caught running a dirty campaign, and now you want to make it go away before it destroys your practice." Amanda gathered herself. "My client is prepared to sign divorce papers today. She keeps her personal assets, you keep yours. Clean break, no spousal support, no further claims. And the harassment stops?" "What harassment?" David slid a folder across the table. "The harassment we've documented. The fake social media accounts, the review bombing, the coordinated text messages, all traceable back to your operation." Amanda opened the folder and her face went pale. "Where did you get this?" "Professional investigation," Paul said from the corner where he'd been quietly observing. "Amazing what you can find when you know where to look." "This is circumstantial." "It's enough for the State Bar Association," David interrupted, "and probably enough for criminal charges." The room went quiet except for the hum of air conditioning. Finally, Amanda spoke. "What do you want?" "Everything stops. Today, the social media campaigns, the fake reviews, the harassment. Celine signs the divorce papers and disappears from my life. And you issue a public statement retracting the abuse allegations. I can't. Then we'll see you in court, and in the newspapers, and probably in front of the ethics board." Amanda was quiet for a long moment. "I'll need to consult with my client." "You have 1 hour," David said. "After that, we go public with everything." As we left Amanda's office, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Hope. "Think she'll take the deal?" I asked David. "She'd be crazy not to. Her career is on the line." My phone rang. Rebecca Martinez from Channel 7. "Mr. Harlan, we've been investigating your story further. I think we owe you an apology." "What changed?" "We found some inconsistencies in the information we were given. Would you be available for an interview this evening? We'd like to set the record straight." "What kind of inconsistencies?" "The kind that suggest we were deliberately misled by people who should have known better." After she hung up, Paul grinned. "They figured out they were played. How do you know? Because Rebecca Martinez just became very interested in the story of how a divorce attorney manipulated the media to destroy an innocent man's reputation. That's a much better story than local man accused of abuse. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, but this one was different. I'm sorry. I never meant for it to go this far. See, Celine, finally ready to tell the truth. I showed the text to Paul and David. Don't respond, David advised. Let her lawyer handle communications. But 30 minutes later, Amanda Foster called with Celine's answer. My client accepts your terms. She'll sign the papers today. And the public statement? Will be issued within the hour. And the harassment? Ends immediately. That evening, I sat in my living room watching Channel 7's retraction. Rebecca Martinez looked appropriately serious as she explained how the station had been provided with incomplete information about a domestic abuse case and how their investigation had revealed a coordinated campaign to mislead the media and the public. She didn't name Amanda Foster directly, but she didn't need to. Anyone paying attention would connect the dots. My phone had been buzzing all day with messages from people who'd seen the news. Jake called to say that 3 clients had already called to reinstate their contracts. Tom and Jennifer Walsh sent a text apologizing for doubting me. Even some of Celine's former friends were reaching out, claiming they'd never really believed the allegations. The doorbell rang. Through the security camera, I could see a delivery truck. The envelope contained signed divorce papers and a brief note from Celine. I'm sorry for everything. You deserved better than what I gave you. Too little, too late, but at least it was honest. Paul raised a beer in toast. To surviving the war. To winning it, I corrected. My phone buzzed one last time, a text from Ethan Drake. You got lucky this time. I showed it to Paul, who laughed. Some people never learn. I typed back, luck had nothing to do with it. Next time you want to steal someone's wife, make sure you can afford the consequences. Then I blocked his number and deleted the conversation. The war was over. I'd lost a wife, but I'd kept my business, my house, and my reputation. More importantly, I'd learned who my real friends were and what I was capable of when pushed too far. 6 months later, my business was thriving. I'd started dating a woman who actually appreciated honesty, and Celine was living in another state, working for a real estate company that didn't know about her recent legal troubles. Amanda Foster had quietly settled the ethics complaint against her and now specialized in much less dramatic areas of law. And me? I was finally free to build the life I actually wanted instead of the one someone else had planned for me. Sometimes the best revenge is simply